Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of uh, uh, the Sarah and Adam Show. I almost called it the Dagger for Sightblinder.
It's been a minute since he called it that.
It's been a minute since I called it anything. We've been gone for the last couple of weeks because of Christmas and holiday things
hmm
and stuff. So we're back, and maybe we'll keep being consistent. Who knows? How are you today, Sarah?
I'm okay. How are you?
Also okay.
We're alive.
Good talk. Are we?
It'd be super awkward if not.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know if death is that awkward, frankly. Like more people have done that than haven't.
I suppose.
It's almost like it's in vogue, like it's like the popular thing. It's the thing to do.
Oh boy. I don't
I'm
know if
not trying to
I
be
don't know if I
morbid.
have the brain capacity for this right now.
I like that you qualified it with a right now.
Yeah, right now. Later.
Okay. Okay. Sure. Later. Sure. All right. So we've got some news. It's been a couple of weeks, and we're actually
hmm
really close to Bad Batch coming out. So we'll be
hmm
covering that. Bad Batch will be fun.
That's next week, right? It's the 4th?
Ooh, is it next week? Yeah. Less than a week to go
Yeah.
before. Yeah, I think we get two starting episodes.
I'm so excited.
You know what? I'm excited in this limited sense. Like, so I am excited overall for Bad Batch. Love Bad Batch. It's only gonna be like 20 minutes a week though,
True.
and it's gonna last for so long. It's just gonna, it'll just be a slog, kind of. You know?
Sometimes though, I prefer 20-minute episodes.
Okay.
So I feel like it will be a slog in the sense of like it will go on for several weeks. Like there's several episodes, but not
Several months even.
yeah, but like not a slog in the sense that each week you'll be like, oh, it's over already.
Yeah, I'll be like, yes, I waited a whole week. I finally get to watch. Oh, it's over.
Yeah, exactly.
They're like, and it's a filler one. I'm like, son of a.
Oh man, don't bring up fillers.
Okay, I won't. So what's the next? What other news is there?
Okay, so in Wheel of Time news, I know,
Hmm.
shocking that we've got some. Uh, Rafe Judkins apparently did an interview with Dragonmount, and he didn't confirm when season 2 is coming. He did say it is in 2023 and said it won't be at the beginning of 2023, most likely towards like the mid to late 2023 timeframe. And that apparently there is still a ton of post production work to be done on the season, and they're doing all this like visual effects work and everything that's taking a lot of time. And he did say as well that a lot of the media reports about what was being wrapped and what was being filmed were wrong. So he basically was saying that like spoiler channels and media reports and all the stuff were saying that episodes had finished filming and they hadn't even started filming those episodes yet.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
They've even started filming.
So I don't know if he's just saying that to, if it's true, or if he's saying that to like cover for how long it has been since the last season. I will say though, when I was reading about this, I also was reading about Carnival Row season 2 coming because that's supposed to be in February, which means that a lot of people are speculating like Wheel of Time probably won't be before May and all the stuff. Anyway, they were saying that Carnival Row, it's their second season, and it had been 3.5 years since the first season of Carnival Row. And I was just like, dear Lord, I hope this is not a Prime Video like precedent type of thing because I don't want to wait that long between seasons of like Wheel of Time and Rings of Power and
Yeah.
anything else that they want to throw out.
Well, that was my thought. I was like, Rings of Power is scheduled for 5 seasons.
Can you imagine waiting 3.5 years between seasons?
I mean,
I would stop watching.
yeah, okay. Well, I would watch it when it came out. I would just have. So okay, it goes similar to. All right, I really actually I enjoyed the heck out of the George R. R. Martin books, the five that he wrote.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and even though I wasn't crazy about the show itself, the books were very well written. He is. I mean, there's a reason he got picked up by HBO, and actually had a bunch of other shows made off of his work. Like it is very solid stuff. It really is. And so, and same with Patrick Rothfuss, who hasn't written a book for a long time, or Scott Lynch. Like, there's a few different authors that I'm like, I want to be snooty about it and be like, I'm just not going to read it anymore. I'm just not, but I'll totally read it once it comes out. I bet I'll buy it within a week.
Right.
Like just because, and I'm not saying that you're like that. I'm always tempted to be like, huh, well, screw them then. They're not going to put out stuff. I'm not going to read it if they do finally put stuff out. For me, I'm always just like, eh, yeah, like they're all, it's like you guys could have been my favorite authors. I would have bought all sorts of stuff. Like you would
Mm-hmm.
have, you're missing out on money from me, you know, as opposed to like Brandon Sanderson. He's prolific. He puts out a book a year, or like this coming year, he's gonna have 5 books out.
Right.
Like he puts out so many books, and they're all really good. And I'm like, yeah, I'll spend extra money on your stuff. Like you are currently awesome. These other guys could have been awesome, but they're not putting out stuff. So,
Yeah.
anyways,
I get that. And like it's not like I wouldn't stop watching out of spite. I would stop watching because you would have lost my interest in that amount. Like I have done that repeatedly with shows. And then eventually like sometimes I pick up a show again and I start it over and I'm like, "Oh, okay, like maybe I'll start it again." And then
okay.
typically I fall off of it again because of the same pattern. Um
Well, I mean, that happened for me kind of with The Walking Dead.
yeah.
Because I was watching it on Netflix, and so there's two elements to it. First off, Netflix doesn't get it for a certain amount of time,
Mhm.
um, and so it's already got like a year's disconnect, or maybe half a year's disconnect. But then they also did this thing. I don't know if they did it like throughout the entire show or not, but they also did a thing where they did like a mid-season finale, and then they'd wait for a few months to start releasing more episodes.
Yep.
And
A
so
lot of
it would
shows do
be,
that now.
ugh,
I know.
like let me vomit more on that idea. That's awful. But like I hated that so much. Like I don't want more cliffhangers. That drives the oh man, I hate it so much, so much. And so they did that for Netflix too. And I'm like, okay, so I already have to wait all this time. And then uh, there's a big cliffhanger, but I'm not even done with the season yet.
Mhm.
Then I have to wait for a bunch more months. And I'm already disconnected. Like I already can't have conversations with people about current Walking Dead stuff because
Right.
I'm only watching it on Netflix. I mean, that's my own fault. I didn't have cable or whatever. Like if I really wanted to be current, I could do that. But I also didn't want to have to spend the money for that. So yeah, it does just kind of like so I ended up not finishing the series, even though I really enjoyed all of it that I
Mhm.
watched. It just like kept. So I guess I can relate to that. You know, and now that now that that whole the Walking Dead original show is that they're doing all these spin-offs, but
Mhm.
not the actual show itself is dead or done with. I should probably watch it, but
I had that thought too, and then I was like, do I really want to? Probably not.
I I do I like it. No, so I guess like as a counter argument though a little bit like I can see you losing interest in stuff. What about I feel like you was it Girls you watched?
Yeah. I watch that
Yeah.
twice a year.
Yeah, so you like Gilmore Girls. That's great. My sisters like it too a
Mhm.
lot. I wouldn't be surprised if I liked it. I haven't given it a try, honestly. But I know that they did like a new season of it.
Right.
Was that exciting? Like what, or was it just like, oh well, it's too little, too late? Like I don't. I don't have to. I guess for you, if you watch it twice a year, then you're already current in it. So
Right.
yeah, I'm not asking the right person.
It was exciting because you were like, yes, there's a reboot, or not a reboot, sequel. I don't know what the right word is for it. And then you watched it and got sad.
Was it good?
No.
Well,
I
let's move
don't
on.
rewatch it.
That's not part of your
That's not part of the
rewatch.
rewatch.
I mean, I'm the same way with like Futurama. I really
Mhm.
like Futurama, the first four seasons. And then I like their first movie. Like they went through this time where they just like made a bunch of like movies instead of the actual show because they were trying to figure out where like it was like it got canceled but not quite canceled, and so they were still making stuff but it had to be in movie form. So I like that those the first four seasons and the show,
Mhm.
or the movie, the Bender's Big Score movie, and then everything after that just kind of sucked and went way downhill for whatever reason. Probably like some one of like the really important people left or something,
Right.
but it was just like the rest of it's okay. But so if I ever rewatch Futurama now, it's the first four seasons and the first movie, and then
And then
that's it.
it's done. Yep.
Yeah, not worth my time for the rest. All right, so that being said, we could talk about Willow if you wanted, or if we have more news.
Mhm. I didn't see any other news. Did you see anything interesting in the last few weeks?
Not really. I mean, I think what I'm really interested in is just, I mean, we've covered it in other shows, is just the Star Wars cadence of things.
Hmm.
One thing that I think is going to be interesting down the line is, Bob Iger is back behind the wheel of Disney.
Yeah, that is going to be interesting. I'm curious what that does to all of this.
Right. Well, and like Lucasfilm is just like one step removed from Disney. And I mean, I know that Disney still owns it and everything, but you have to think that Disney's going to be doing things a little bit differently than like
Right.
Marvel is going to do or whatever. And one of the things that I keep hearing brought up is that Iger is pumping the brakes on the volume of shows, like the number of shows that are being produced by Disney.
That's interesting.
And and so, like right now, all the shows that we're going to have this coming year, like we're going to have Bad Batch, and then we're going to have Mandalorian, and then Ahsoka, and Acolyte, and maybe the Skeleton Crew show. Like we're going to get all those shows,
Hmm.
and you have to wonder, will this be the most prolific year for Disney in terms of TV shows that they ever have because of their new policy of not producing as many shows?
That would be interesting. I'm curious if that's going to be the case.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious too, but
I,
that's something I keep thinking about.
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
Well, um, should we talk about Willow then?
Sure.
Okay, so it's been, like you said, a couple of weeks because
Hmm.
of Christmas holidays and all this stuff. But we have watched the next three episodes, so episodes 4, 5, and 6.
Yes,
Right,
ma'am. So the second half of the show so far, as it currently is constituted.
right. Did we talk
Yeah.
about last time how many episodes this is supposed to be? I can't remember.
We did talk about it. I don't remember though. Here, let me look it up real quick.
I can't remember if it's like 10 or 24 or it's not. There's no way it's 24.
Let's see. It says this thing says 8. I don't know what the source is.
8. I feel like we just got to the storyline.
I don't think the 8 is accurate. Let me see.
I would expect at least 10.
I hope so. 8. If it's 8, then we gotta have another season, which I don't know if I care enough.
We can talk about that. If it's 8, they're going to have to. I don't know. The next two episodes, I guess, are going to be
Oh,
really ridiculous.
this thing says the new Will. I mean, they're all going to be ridiculous because it's Willow. But
True.
in total, the new Willow series will consist of 8 episodes. Yeah. After that, Willow will revert to a weekly. Wait. Oh yeah, the first two will be made available, and then after that, the finale arrives on January 11th.
Yeah, that's in 2 weeks. Holy. All right. I guess
Oh man,
we have two more left.
it's kind of disappointing. I thought there'd be more, honestly.
It is a little bit disappointing. I feel like we literally just got to like I was watching today's episode, so episode 6 or this week's
Hmm.
episode. And finally I was like, "Oh, all right. I am interested." And you're telling me I got two more and that's it?
That's it. That's so ridiculous.
Shenanigans. All right, let's talk about this though. Do you want to start at episode 4 that I don't recall?
Sure, yeah. So let's see, episode 4. So the to just like really briefly recap,
Mm-hmm.
I guess. So they are trying to find the brother of the spoiled stupid princess.
Of Kit.
Spoiled stupid princess, yeah.
Yep.
And so they're off. Willow's best friend gets killed in the final episode against some zombie guys.
That's right. I remember that. That was sad.
It was sad, but then we don't see any evidence of of his sadness for the rest of the season, I think, at least for these last 3 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
His best friend died, like his friend that's been with him forever. But we don't really, Willow's just like, I guess I'll move on immediately.
Mm-hmm. Carry on.
Yeah. And otherwise, yeah, like they've been through some tough things, and yeah, it's not the journey is not like going very smoothly, but it's apparently still going. And they have to take shelter. They have to take shelter in the only place. It's the rain is just pouring down. The only place that's at all in range is the castle of Nockmar, which just happens to be the place that Willow vanquished whatever her name is,
Right.
the witch,
Mm-hmm.
and it's got has dire implications for all of them, for all involved. So, and the one of the guys, what's his name? The supposed fiance to Kit.
Yes.
He's been bitten. He's going to become a zombie soon or
Mm-hmm.
something.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to fix him while they're in that castle, which actually happens to be one of the best places possible because it's got all the cool like potions and materials needed for all the spells that they would need. So
Yeah, because they're looking through for everything that they need to fix them.
yeah, like they just found like a brined possum in a jar. Like it's really helpful. It's a really good play. Like I if they got stuck at my house, they'd be screwed. I'd be like, I have some ibuprofen,
I have some here.
you know,
This will numb the pain.
have some Zyrtec, you know.
Um. Okay, so like,
Yeah,
what did you think of this episode? Because for me, I'm remembering this one now, and at the
yeah,
time, I was kind of like, eh.
yeah. I mean, so this is this episode was. I mean, all right. So let me read the little blurb that it says at the start.
Mm-hmm.
So it's called The Whispers of Nockmar. The journey leads the adventurers to seek refuge in the haunted castle of Nockmar. Um, I thought this whole show is ridiculous, and this is just an extension of that,
Right.
honestly. Like ridiculous, and I don't mean it in like a really negative way. I like it's one of those things that you're like, man, this thing is being it's just very much itself. Like it doesn't care if it's, like doing stereotypes or ignoring stereotypes or going places that it shouldn't go or whatever. It's just like, yep, we're just going to do what we want and pay no attention to the consequences.
Right.
And I don't know, this it's fun. I liked it.
Fair.
I don't know. It's weird.
I do get that vibe from it, and the whole like do whatever it wants to do, and not
Hmm.
really care about whether it lands or not, or whether it's well received and all this.
I
Um,
mean, episode 6 is and 5, both of them. I'm just like, oh my gosh, this one was, yeah. They all do it. It's just very silly. It's a
yeah.
silly show.
I will say, like, I think the highlight out of this episode for me, that it's the piece that really stuck with me. Obviously, like, it had some um, really cool is the wrong term probably, but I liked
I don't think
getting,
you could ever accurately use that phrase.
I know, but I liked getting to see, like, them go in that castle and look through for the potions and stuff that they were going to need and the ingredients
Hmm.
to use on Prince, what's his face. But I also really liked that he didn't really like didn't really get cured, and he kind of had that whole mini showdown with Willow,
Who did?
the Prince dude that got
Graydon?
bitten. What's his
Yeah,
name?
Graydon.
Graydon. Yeah, and he had like this whole, like, it almost sounded like he was possessed.
He was.
Yeah, he had that whole voice thing going on. I liked that part. Uh,
Okay. I mean, he was possessed by the crone
yeah, so
or the lich.
it it seemed, that part seemed to fit with the whole, like, theme of the show overall. I was like, this is kind of like quirky, and but also ties into what's happening, and I like it.
Yeah. Yeah, Elora Danan is more and more prominent, she's more and more
Mm-hmm.
important.
Mm-hmm.
And we find out more and more that Willow is just full of shit.
Every time he's like doing something, I'm like, what's gonna happen here? Like,
Yeah, do you actually know well, it's funny because it's like he knows the shape of what he's supposed to be doing, but he
mm-hmm.
just like utterly fails at doing it, kind of.
Yeah, I'm like, it's gonna go poorly.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I thought that it was interesting just because I don't know, like the character of Kit, like she kind of just annoys me. Mostly she's just like this spoiled person who it turns out she's not even good at sword fight. Oh, she's like okay, I guess you find out, but like all the things that she thought was awesome about herself, just totally she gets disabused of it,
Mm-hmm.
and instead of just being like, oh wow, I kind of suck, I should actually learn how to be a better person, she's just like, I'm just gonna continue to suck and be grumpy about it.
Right.
This episode you see a little bit of growth from her in the sense that she finally tells Elora, or she's about to at least,
Right.
that she is you know that she actually was capable of growing the bush thing.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's true. There's a tiny, tiny bit of growth.
Yeah. I I don't know, one of my favorite characters in this show, honestly, and it's funny because everyone else hates him, is man, I'm so bad at names.
You and me both.
Yeah, I should just pull up the show log here. Hold on. Um that way I can look at all the different characters. The cast. Yeah. Um Borman. I really like Borman. He's a lot of fun.
Which one is that again?
Oh my gosh, you don't know who he's the guy with the big beard
Oh,
and
okay.
the cleaver and stuff.
Yeah. I'm really bad at their names.
It's really bad that you don't know that, at least if you've
I
seen
can
it,
like
but
I can like picture the characters, and then the names I'm like, other than like Kit and Willow and Alora.
okay. So now you've learned a new one. It's called Borman.
Yeah.
So he's one of my favorites though, just because he's so ridiculous and over the top about everything, and his cleaver is actually just a really badass weapon.
Mhm.
In reality, like, well, my reality at least, and I just like that he just says things. He has no filter. He's just like spouts it out. And
Hmm.
one of the things he says this time was, so they think that, let's see, the so Enfys Nest girl,
See, you're bad at names too.
Jade.
Yep.
I just want to call her Enfys Nest because I liked her character in Star Wars. But Jade, and she
Hmm.
doesn't have a last name here on the list here. It's funny. A lot of them don't. Um, but Jade thinks she sees things outside. She's just out patrolling on her own. And at some point, she barricades herself into the castle because she thinks someone's coming for him. And then Borman tries to get through the door. And so they're like, if it's really you, Borman, because they think it's haunted, like they're themselves get spooked, and
Yeah.
Kit's there with Jade somehow, and she's like, if it's really you, tell us something only the three of us would know. And Borman's like, you two have the hots for each other, and they both like look at each other and like immediately uncover the door, and one of them's like, we don't, like just real obvious and guiltily, like
No, that's not true. Uh,
yeah. Like that moment of like you could it was really, in my opinion, it was really well done, of just like you could tell the truth and the immediate awkwardness that they both felt, and like, oh, we haven't talked about that, but obviously Borman has hit on some truth because they immediately jump to open the door for him.
well, and I will say, like, as quirky as this show is, I find that it does a really good job of inserting these little bits of humor. Like,
Yeah. Hmm.
where I'm like, okay, like, that was cleverly done.
Well, and some of it's uncleverly done but still kind of funny
Right. You're like, that
too.
was low hanging fruit, but I'll take it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I mean, this this one was this one is like, I mean, it wasn't horror at all, but this was like the scary episode, I
Right.
feel like. Um yeah, and I felt, I think the interesting thing that I keep seeing in this show is like they keep just matching two different people together
Mm-hmm.
for it, so you have the different interactions between them, like it's not just Kit only really cares about Jade, really. Like they
Right.
set out on this adventure. I've had plenty of interactions with them, but what happens when Kit has to interact with Elora more?
Mm-hmm.
And Graydon has to talk to, in the next episode, Graydon gets stuck with Willow, and like you just get to see, it's just kind of like a chemistry set. You're just like, hey, I have like this many chemicals. Like, what if I add these two together? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
something different happens, different than if I stick these two together. Like, it's just kind of fun to, you know, and maybe that's just like classic world building or storytelling, or whatever. But I think it's cool that they keep doing that just a little bit at least.
Yeah. I like that too. Um, do you want to talk about the next episode?
Yeah. So eventually they escape Nockmar, and the Crones people are after them.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently Willow has a flamethrower. Um,
Somehow.
yeah. So, but they don't really use it other than one time. Um, so there's that. They have to go to episode 5, Wildwood. The enchanted fairy forest beckons, but is home to dangerous bone reavers.
Mm-hmm.
So this is maybe the first one, like out of all of it, like the whole thing is so ridiculous. You can't just say like, all right, continuity wise, this is bad. Like you could poke holes all
Yeah.
day in it, like forever. There's it's not an airtight story, and you kind of don't want it to be. You don't need it to be. There is one thing in this that I was just like, it kind of broke my mind. But let's talk about the episode a little bit more before I get into that.
Okay. Now, but you've intrigued me. I want to know what it was that broke your mind.
Well, it was like I was like, right, okay. Um, so yeah, they're being chased by the Crones minions, who apparently can just teleport wherever they want to teleport to.
Mm-hmm.
But they're gonna go into the Wildwood, which is apparently a place that everyone just gets lost in forever because of the strong magic of contentment. And apparently that is just total BS, and it's just the home of the Bone Reavers, who we've met previously in
Mm-hmm.
episode, was it 1, where they're leaving and they're attacked by the Bone Reavers.
I think so. I know we've definitely met them.
Yeah, so like they cross through the whatever it's called, like the thing that protects their land,
Hmm.
and like immediately the Bone Reavers like beset them and just like shoot their like soldier guy that's with them,
Hmm.
and then chase the rest of them off a cliff. And Borman apparently seems to know them. Like that was in like the first or second episode.
Yeah, it was very early on.
Hmm.
Um,
So that's where we've seen the Bone Reavers.
mhm.
And then in this episode, they're just hanging out, charmed by the forest. It's great, and then the Bone Reavers appear.
Yeah, and we're back in it.
We're back, and this is where they get split up.
Hmm. Um, yeah, because then I think it is Alora and Jade that end up together.
Hmm.
Because I remember in this episode kind of rolling my eyes at this whole. They
Oh, it's
had this.
Laura and Kit.
Is it Alora? Okay, so it's Alora and Kit. It was one of the two with Alora. Um, yeah, it is Kit. You're right. Because they're talking about how Kit should apologize to Jade.
Oh, at the very end.
Yeah, and this whole thing, I remember I watched this whole episode and I was like, I was kind of like, okay, like we're just following along here. Let's see where this story is going to take us. And then we get to this whole ending with them. And obviously Kit and Jade have had this miscommunication of sorts on their quasi relationship, non-relationship, whatever it is that is happening.
The
Um,
relationship status, sure.
yeah, and but Laura kind of has this like chat with Kit and it's like you need to apologize, and it's just like it doesn't matter what you're apologizing for. You just need to say you're sorry. And I was like, oh, this is terrible advice.
Well, I mean, this coming from the girl who just lets the prince call her Dove.
Yeah, yeah, fair enough.
Like she doesn't even go by her regular name.
I was just like watching it unfold, and I was like, no, it definitely matters what you're apologizing for. But okay, go on.
Right. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I think it was a good breakthrough at least that Kit like felt she could actually ask Laura for advice.
It was. I will give credit there that it was a nice moment of Kit character growth.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I would ask Laura for relationship advice. I just don't know what. I don't get it. But
Uh,
um okay, so to backtrack just a little
mhm,
bit in the
mhm.
in the episode because the advice thing happens actually like almost at the very end. So this episode has two like parts to it basically. Like number one, like the Bone Reavers, they wear the skulls of their enemies and they're fierce and they tell people they're going to cook them and like the bone pot or something like that. Like it's a
It's a scary thing.
right. And they sent Borman up to the leader's tent to be interrogated closely, apparently.
Hmm.
A little spicy. And then they have the two different groups. Like they have the two guys in one like little quasi prison and the other two. But they clearly like and Alora just like decides that now is the time to steal the wand
Right?
from Willow. She's like, I don't even know if I can use this that well, but I'm just gonna steal it
This
for
is
some reason.
mine.
Yeah.
Uh,
Um, but like they're kind of in like the serious ish, and then they send Jade off to, like for sport, they say.
mhm,
And it's like I mean, it's a fairly serious situation, right? Like they're all taken prisoner by these bloodthirsty assholes, and
mhm.
you're like, what's gonna happen?
Yeah.
Um, but then it turns out Borman is the love interest of their leader. So they've got that going for them. the Willow and the guy, the no longer a zombie dude,
Graydon.
um, Graydon, yeah. Those two find brownies, which do nothing for them at all. Actually, like it was a part that was unnecessary to the show completely. But the brownies are just like little tiny creatures, even smaller than Willow.
I know they were so. Uh, I remember when I first like realized how tiny they were, and I was like, "Holy, this is like miniature."
Yeah, they're in the movie, right?
I think so.
You really need to work on that memory thing.
I know it's difficult right now.
It's getting in the way, Sarah.
It's difficult right now.
No, it's totally good. Yeah, so uh anyways, at some point Jade fights the leader
Mhm.
and the leader discovers that they're actually sisters. Yay, small world.
Yeah,
And so they decide that instead of it being like this crazy life and death situation, they're gonna have a party.
right, because they're reunited, even though
Right.
who knew?
And the Bone Reavers are apparently just misunderstood. Like they actually just have want to be left alone. They want to live a peaceful life. They wear the bones so that people are scared of them and stay away.
Yeah, it's like a tactic to be left alone, I guess.
Right. Which this is the thing that broke my mind though, is that is just a total horse shit, falsity. Because so they're like, we just want to be left alone,
Hmm.
and yet when like it's not even in their lands, they're just like in an open field, and the heroes are just on the like they're on the border,
Hmm.
and these bone reavers just like in cold blood murder some random dude on a horse that they don't even know,
Right.
and then chase the other ones off a cliff.
So they don't. Yeah, it doesn't match.
No, it is completely contrary to what like they're just trying to pass it off as like we have ideals and we're good people, but when we want to be left alone, so we have to act fierce.
Hmm.
And it's like, no, you guys just murder people in cold blood sometimes for fun. Like, for no apparent gain, you just go and murder people. And you wear skulls because at some point you had to kill people to get those skulls. And maybe they're old skulls, but one way or another, like, that's pretty gross. And
Yeah,
I
no,
don't
thank
know.
you. I don't want that. I would not want to
No,
wear skulls.
you look good in skulls.
No, thank you. I would pass.
I was kidding. You probably wouldn't.
Uh,
So, anyways, the fierceness doesn't really work out though, because just as Enfys Nest is telling the
hmm.
spoiled princess that if she starts kissing her, she'll probably never stop, the trolls intervene for all of our sakes and steal Kit.
For all of our sakes, just in the nick of time.
Just in the nick. I mean, whatever. They're both kind of attractive. Like it'd be okay to, like they could. It wouldn't be just like it's this total really gross thing or whatever. But I was just like, where is this going?
I feel like
Um,
I don't know. I feel like they've made such a thing out of it being like vague and known, but also not known. But like they've just been toying with the storyline the whole time that I didn't really expect anything to happen. And then like with that storyline progressing, and then
okay.
Kit was gone.
Goodbye, Kit.
So I was like, ah,
Oh, goodbye.
figures.
Very well. Yeah, so she's gone.
Hmm. Yeah.
I don't know. Oh, so I think one of my favorite things in this show though were the truth plums that they all ate.
I will say, like, this show is so quirky and then just has like little things like that, like the brownies and the truth plums and all
Right.
this stuff that you're just like, where do you think of this stuff? And then it comes in and you're like, it somehow all fits.
Yeah, it's all in one consistent theme. It's just a weird, yeah. Like I did not expect at all for like they go to the Bone Reaver forest for it to turn into like some hippie drug party, you know? But that's what it like they're just like drinking and telling these crazy stories and Graydon is just like playing on his flute, you know, and like it's just like this haze of madness going on. And
Hmm.
you're like, I thought that the Bone Reavers were going to eat their faces, you know? Like I
Yeah,
thought they were gonna like have a fierce fight to the death, and instead, no, just like a hippie drug party.
yeah. I
It's
mean,
just pure madness, and I enjoyed it actually.
but at the same time, I'm kind of like, yeah, this checks out.
Yeah, this is just consistent. Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's what I was waiting for, and it never happened, but I wish that those truth plums, I
Hmm.
was hoping that at the end, like they'd all wake up the next morning and they're like, man, like talking to like the people in the forest, they're like, man, those truth plums, they're so crazy. Like they make you tell the truth. And I was waiting for the people in the forest to be like, oh, they don't actually make you tell the truth. Like, like we
Like it
just
was like
call
a
them
placebo effect
yeah, like we just call them truth plums for,
for
because of some other
visitors.
reason. Yeah, like we just call them that for some other reason.
Uh,
And they're like, really? All that stuff you told us last night, that was actually true? Like, I was waiting for that
uh,
moment of everyone like, oh, face palm moment.
that would have been great. I
Yeah.
feel like that just would have been funny.
Oh, I know. I would have laughed out loud, even if I called it and then it didn't happen. But even if I had called it, yeah, I would have just been like, ah, it's
Uh,
just so funny. Yeah,
yeah, I feel like that would have fit with see that fits too. It's just so ridiculous.
it is. Instead, they get captured by the give
The
no
trolls.
F's trolls. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Which I guess takes us to episode 6. Which this was the episode that I was like, okay, I actually am intrigued here.
Okay, so before we go into six,
Yeah.
real quick, I do want to point out in episode four, at the end of episode four. Okay, end of episode one, the
Mhm.
prince gets taken, right? He's
Right.
a
Yes.
prisoner. We don't see him until the end, very end of episode four,
Hmm.
where he finds himself in some kind of prison inside of big lost city, and he's just like, whoa.
Hmm.
He's just like stumbles around, and
Yes, that's right. Good point.
and we just see him for like a couple minutes and it's like okay, so he's going to be part of the story now.
Yeah.
um then episode 5 comes and he's nowhere to be found, like there's no anything about him at all.
Hmm. Nothing.
Right, so he's just like whoa, crazy city man. And then episode 5, nothing. And then we still don't really see him until the end of episode 6, but I just thought
Right.
it was noteworthy of like okay, so they're bringing him back in like where he's going to play a bigger part.
Hmm.
Eh, but then episode 5 was like I feel like he could have ended episode 5 that
Right.
way
And done the
instead,
same sort of effect.
right? Except maybe they wanted it to like the shock of the trolls attacking to be the very end.
Maybe.
And Boorman's just like trolls.
Trolls. Uh, okay, so what was episode 6 called again?
Right, episode 6 is Prisoners of Skellen. The heroes mount a rescue mission into the dread mines of Skellen.
Because that is where Kit has been taken by these trolls.
Kit and Willow.
And Willow, yes.
Yeah. So there's like two different groups
Hmm.
basically. Kit with Willow and then the other people who we don't know the names of.
Correct.
Yeah. Including Enfys Nest's sister and Borman's love interest.
Hmm. But they're all basically going in to try and bust them out, I guess.
Yeah. So which part do you want
Hmm.
to cover? Like which part do you want to talk about first? Like there's the Kit and Willow part, and that goes for a long time, and like they kind of like remain separate for a while.
Yeah, they do. Um, do you want to talk about that first then?
Sure.
and then we can
Yeah.
talk about these these trolls. Can I just say real quick before we get into the Kit and Willow thing? These trolls looked so weird.
Yeah, I mean they're kind of ghastly looking, but then they have human voices.
Yeah.
So
I was like, these are. I don't know. I just kept kind of like laughing to myself because I was like, they look like low budget wampas. Like,
I mean they kind of are a little bit. Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah. No, I mean they did kind of look like I kept thinking they looked like Yetis, which I mean that's basically what a Wampa is.
Yeah,
So
that's fair. Good point.
I mean,
So,
whatever they are. You know what they also reminded me of a little bit, and it's been a while since I've seen it, is that old school time machine movie. I don't know if you've seen it, but so like I don't need to tell you the premise of the whole book, but like he's going, he keeps going forward in time.
mm-hmm,
And the final thing, the final place that he lands is this place where humans are all just like pretty dumb and they just like live this peaceful life. And then there's these creatures who have like kind of enslaved them a little bit.
mm-hmm.
The creatures live separate from them though. So the creatures, whenever they want food, which are the humans, they just like play some music and the humans just have they like are called to them to be taken and eaten, and
Oh,
it's a ghastly thing, but those creatures kind of reminded me, like the trolls reminded me of what those guys looked like.
I definitely have not seen that.
I mean it was an old movie even when I was a kid. I think it's pretty
Mm-hmm.
old, but yeah, I mean that movie had a reason to have weird looking creatures. This one was like, well, you have a modern budget, maybe you could fix up your trolls a little bit.
Nah, man, there's no need. No need at all.
They don't need to. Actually, I didn't care. I didn't mind. But yeah, these trolls are weird.
Super weird. Um, yeah, so you obviously have Kit and Willow that are taken and they are separated
Hmm.
from the rest of the group, and the rest of the group is trying to
Yep.
get in there and eventually pretend to be trolls.
It's funny. So gosh, there's so many things in this one. So they first off, they're so Kit and Willow, they're in cages, and there's some random other guy who's there,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't know who he is. He's wearing an eye patch though, so he was like, oh man,
So he's a
doesn't
pirate.
look like Val Kilmer. Yeah, maybe it's a pirate. Gosh. Or like Mad Mardigan has the eye patch.
Mm-hmm.
So you're like, what is this? It doesn't look like Val Kilmer, but like they kind of have a weird angle on him, so maybe who knows. Um, but then the guy's talking to him and he's like, he's talking to Willow and Kit, and he says something, and then he says, right, guys, and he's clearly talking to the skeletons in the other cages who have died of
Yeah.
privation.
Yeah. And that's when you start to wonder if he's all there.
Right. And it turns out he's very genuine in a lot of ways, but also not all there. He's a mess.
Yeah. Which also like kind of makes me wonder like how long was he there for?
He said 10 years.
Like but like was it actually 10 years? I mean, I guess that would be long enough to make you maybe go slightly crazy and talk to skeletons.
I mean, if that's the only person who's going to talk to you, then I think I would talk to skeletons after a couple months or so,
Yeah.
frankly.
Oh man. Ugh.
Wilson,
Ugh.
did you ever see that I forget what it's even called,
Isn't that
with Tom Hanks?
Castaway or something like that? It's not quite.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It's so sad. Uh yeah, so
It is.
he's there and doing
Hmm.
crazy
And then
skeleton talk.
then the right as the trolls are coming in, he's like, hey, I'm Mad Mardigan. And so Kit's like, that's my dad.
Yeah.
And then the trolls administrator comes in and he's real pleasant, actually.
That was the thing. I was like, this episode with the trolls and stuff, I was like, I feel like I'm supposed to fear you,
Hmm.
but I also feel like you're being friendly.
Well, I mean, he's one of those guys. Like, I don't know. I've known a few people like that who are just like so pleasant and so good until you go like astray from what they want, and then they're just cutthroat and total dicks.
And
Yeah,
that,
even as they're like nice sounding, even like they're even nice sounding as they're, oh, well, that's great that you want to do that, but we're actually not going to do that because I hate you.
right. Oh. And that's what these guys are, basically.
Yeah, the trolls are like, yeah, we're gonna just do what we want. Like we follow the crone. Like the crone is evil, but whatever, we're evil too. But we'll be pleasant about it.
Yeah. And
And
that
he's
was
even
that was the thing. Like they acted so pleasant, and at the same time, I was like, "What you're saying isn't very nice," but
right.
it's coming across nice somehow. So,
Yep. And then there's a disturbance that are caused by the other group that we'll talk about, and they leave, and Kit's about to be tortured. She's like, "Aren't you going to torture me?" He's like, "Oh,
yeah.
we're not going to torture. We just want to incentivize you to assist us."
Which is such like a classic PR/marketing
Uh huh.
spin. Like,
Oh, I know. It's like corporate speak,
yeah.
really. You know.
Uh,
Yeah, we just want to provide incentive for you to assist us in our goals,
it makes me think
our task.
of someone sent me like a one of those like text memes or whatever, and it was like someone, your dog is so spoiled. Me, my dog is competitively compensated for the quality companionship they provide, or like something along those lines. No, it's that exact thing though, where they're like, no, we're not going to torture you.
Right. Oh, then what an ugly word.
Yeah.
Torture. Oh.
But even like the way that they said that is not like it wasn't in a scary manner.
No, it's fun. Like I really enjoyed. I liked the way they like, I mean it's very Willow.
It's a
So
very
honestly, like
it's a very interesting like dynamics the wrong way to phrase it because it's just a very interesting like personality trait for the trolls to have.
and that's the thing I like about Willow is that sometimes what you see, you're like, oh man, there's something deeper to this. This is going to be crazy, and then
Mm-hmm.
it's actually just what you see, and you're like, okay. And then some, and then sometimes it just subverts your expectations so much. You're like I literally just have no idea where the show is going
Mm-hmm.
because they never do anything that's predictable, really. Or if they do something predictable, there's so many other unpredictable things that you're like, nah, it's not going to do that.
Right.
Oh, I guess they did do that. Okay.
They did go there. Yeah. I will say like that whole like going to torture kit thing and they brought like whatever that was out, the worm looking thing.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, this does not look like it's gonna be good.
I have always hated, like, if you want to torture me, like
Let me take
that's what you
notes.
do. Like, get some kind, yeah, thanks, Sarah. Good. That'll be good.
Uh,
But I mean, like, find something to insert, like, find some kind of bug that you're going to put up my nose, and I'll
oh,
tell you all the things. I don't care. I
ugh.
will tell you everything. I honestly, and I was like, Kit, why don't you just help them? Like, when they're trying to torture because they want to find a Laura Dannon,
Mhm.
like, why doesn't she just tell them what she knows? Like, she's like, yeah, she was in the forest with us. I'll even take you there. Like, what's she gonna actually? She doesn't know her way around the forest. She doesn't know. Like, she should just preserve her self, her strength, and then maybe she could be on in the opportunity to help her friends later.
Right. Like as you're being taken away, so to speak, or as you're being like going back to the forest with them to lead them to where you think they are, you could be
Right.
brainstorming a plan.
Right. Like she's not gonna actually she has no knowledge that's actually that harmful
Mm-hmm.
to the group. It's like you don't really know much, Kit. Like, what would you say you do here?
Not that.
Oh, I did really did like when Willow's like, "Stop! Don't do this!" And prison administrator, he's like, "Yeah, I'm not crazy about Nelwyn's, so so if you could just like stop talking, you know."
That'd be great. Thanks.
Yeah, it's just really funny.
Uh,
I'm not crazy about Nelwyn's. Like it's just like casually racist, like very politely racist.
it's just like the silliest, just the silliest thing. But I mean, I actually did enjoy this episode, and like
Hmm.
that these trolls had a good chunk to do with it. So
Yeah. Yeah. So anyways, Kit is left on the torturer's
hmm
table, but she finds a way to escape, and so she helps everyone else escape because all the trolls just completely leave him to lay there. Um, and it turns out it's not Mad Mardigan. It's just a guy who's Mad Mardigan's friend um who was pretty dumb. And
it was pretty dumb. Uh,
well, well it is funny because like she lets him loose and then he just immediately jumps out of the cage before she could like help him and he almost just falls over the cliff. And the Willow's like, "Oh, you're not as dumb as Mad said you were." And he's like, "Thank you." And he's like, "You're dumber."
uh, yeah, man, it's just. I feel like this episode. I don't want to say was like really good. It was humorous, and I feel like it had a lot of. It felt like to me it had more silly moments than the other ones.
Hmm. I don't know if it had more. Like the rest of them are all just there's a lot of silliness
hmm
to be found, really. But yeah, there's quite a bit. So their friend, um, Allagash,
hmm
leads them to where he's like, "Oh yeah, Mad Mardigan was here with me. I'll show you where he is." Um, and eventually that's probably where we would need to break off to the next group.
Right, because the next group is trying to get in there, pretend to be trolls essentially to find them, and get them out. And you've got this like they've got this whole get up on once they are there of I guess I don't know if it's like a troll uniform or what. Kind of looks like elephant trunks on their faces though.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So apparently there are some trolls who just wear hoods, which is like such an easy way to get around if you're roughly the size of a troll.
hmm
You just put one of those on and everyone just assumes that you are a troll, in fact. So yeah, they get in and it turns out the Borman had been lying about having slaughtered his way out. He had just like snuck out inside of a crap pot, basically.
hmm
And so he sneaks them in and uh as they're sneaking through the mines, Graydon wants to have a like relationship talk with Alora Dannon.
Like pick your timing.
Yeah, and she's like so distracted by like she sees all these other slaves and they're afraid they're gonna be captured and they're or seen and they're like afraid they're gonna lose their footing. And
hmm
he's like, I just want to feel like let's talk about how our feelings and so they get to this point where like they do this a couple times where like there's a couple people like the other three members of the party are fighting trolls. It's like a fight to the death. And Graydon, who's not a fighter anyways,
Mm-mm.
and Elora are both just like standing there having like a relationship talk as other people are fighting to the
In
death
the
with
background.
trolls in the background.
Yeah.
Which I mean that just adds to the surreal hilarity.
It does. It completely goes with the silliness.
Yeah.
Ugh. Yeah.
So that they get their hoods and equipment and stuff
hmm
and as they're about to go to the cage room where they think Willow is, oh yeah, so the Enfys Nest's sister, she decides she's gonna break all the people out of prison and leave.
Yeah.
So she pieces out. The rest of them have their little hoodies on so that they don't get caught. And there's some trolls that go by and they're like there's a spill on such and such level.
Right.
like, and we need a supervisor to go. And Graydon's like, no, thank you.
I know.
And
He's like,
and eventually, like they just take him, and he's like, they like take him so that he can go and supervise the leak, like to,
yeah.
and he's like, help, and everyone just awkwardly watches him go with the trolls.
It was just so funny where he was like, no, thank you, not interested. And I was just like, oh, this is gonna go
Yep.
so poorly.
I know. And then he's like, oh, I was kidding.
Right? Just kidding. Just having some fun. And no one, and they're like, oh yeah, okay, and just carry on and
Yeah.
take him
And
away.
Borman's just like, he's quick on his feet. I'm sure he'll be okay.
It'll totally be fine.
They all just peace out, leave him.
Uh,
Just so ridiculous. Like, help. They don't do anything. They just awkwardly watch him leave.
It's funny too because they're going in there to get Willow and Kit out. And now it almost feels like, okay, now we've got to get Willow and Kit and then figure out how to get Graydon back before he's found out, essentially.
Right.
So yeah, just
Oh,
more shenanigans.
and Graydon at some point, like early on in the show, like as they're traversing the mines,
Mhm.
while he's trying to talk to Elora Danan, he's like, and my dad did tell me to murder Borman. And like no one says
Yeah.
anything about it. Everyone just ignores that. Like
Just
they all hear it, they're like, okay, dude, shut up. They keep moving.
mhm.
Just a little throwaway piece of information. No big deal.
Yeah, it's totally. And then no one bats an eye.
No one bats an eye, no one cares. Yeah, so Graydon's just gone. Elora at some point just drops her wand because it's clumsy Elora.
Which is just like how like you stole that. Why you would think that you would be more cognizant of it and
More careful, yeah.
yeah, make sure you don't just drop it.
Oh, I'm at a ledge. I guess I'll just drop it accidentally.
Terrible.
Yeah,
Terrible.
that's okay. So, at some point, Boardman is like, you know what? We can't even do this. We have to go. We have to go this way. So he's showing him a place to go, and it turns out he wants to go get some ancient artifact.
Yeah.
Instead of actually saving Willow and company.
Yeah. He wants to go and get this like treasure type thing.
Right. So the groups meet up. They're both going to the same place where Mad Mardigan was.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, sorry,
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, and it's and immediately Borman and Allagash start fighting.
Yeah.
It's very silly.
And then I was just like I was kind of I wasn't laughing at this, but I was just getting really frustrated because this has nothing to do with the storyline, but whenever there is something like this, and this was happening here where they're going further and further in and they're getting dark deeper into this like cave or whatever you want to call it, it's getting darker. And I'm like, can we just not have such dark lighting in these scenes, please? I was just getting so frustrated because there's this moment where I think it was Borman that was like, yeah, like, don't you guys see this door here? And he's like trying to get them to go through, and I was like, no one can see it, it's too dark, like no one can see what is going on. I was just a little bit frustrated with it, but
I feel like you were just watching something with no contrast on, because I don't remember seeing that.
No, it was, I
don't feel like the lighting was an issue when I was watching it.
Oh gosh, it was like floating heads. I was like, this is terrible.
Yeah, I think you're just watching it on your phone or something.
No, I definitely like watched it on my large TV screen in the living room.
Probably just need to upgrade that TV then. So
definitely do not.
No, I mean, I thought that a few times of the Dragon show, actually. There were a few times that lighting was really bad. This one I never felt like it was actually bad at all, though. So I don't know.
Did not.
I'm not saying you're foolish. I just didn't experience that level of, I do notice that sort of thing. Not Apparently not this time though.
Did not like it. I mean, once the door was open to wherever this artifact thing was being hidden, it was fine.
Yeah.
And then it was just a rhyme time, which is
so so
also so
so
silly.
to be able to open the thing, Allagash, he's like, yeah, okay, I know the secret entrance. He's like, okay, Kit, put your hand in here, and he like takes the skeleton remains of a hand
Hmm.
out of the crevice. Like clearly someone's hand was in there before. And he's
Right?
like, just put your hand in here. And she's like, am I gonna be able to take my hand out?
Yeah. Will
Kind of
I
thing.
still have a hand afterwards?
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. No.
Yeah. So they go in, and yeah, it's rhyme time and it's riddle time.
Hmm. Which I will say I was laughing when we got to the second rhyme
Hmm.
and no one answered it, and they're all just like, oh, okay, like what do we do? And he just starts repeating this new rhyme of like, it seems you may want some time, more time, or whatever it was the line was. And I was like, and I was laughing because like it just kept going, and like also you could hear it in the background when the characters were talking. And I was like, if I was there and I was trying to figure out this rhyme, I would be so annoyed to hear this over and over
It's
again.
distracting.
It's
Yeah.
so I'm like,
You
that's
can't think.
totally what it's for, but like it's so distracting, but also it's hilarious to like watch.
Just to watch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was like, I would not want to be there because I would get so mad, but it was very funny.
Yeah. They're just, yeah, get real upset. So they open the thing, and yeah, the whole group's back together except for Graydon, apparently.
Hmm.
But yeah, they open the thing, and they find some kind of chest piece that is like old and crappy looking, and it's apparently something other cuirass.
Something.
And yeah, so Allagash and Borman just start fighting because it's the awesome artifact that Borman needed to be able to fight the trolls or something.
Hmm.
Um,
There's just more fighting.
yep, and they're fighting, and Kit wants to go into this little portal to they apparently that's where Mad Mardigan went, and he's like, I need you to help me, and her friends drag her out, and she's all pissed off and
Yeah.
just very teenager-ish. Just throws little pout fit. I mean, really, like not even teenager-ish. Like there's just I don't know, my 8-year-old does a pretty good pout, and she was right there with him.
uh, yeah, it was. I mean, I kind of felt a little bit bad because it really did sound like there obviously was a voice talking to her to come and
Yeah, I
help.
was. But what if it was just the crone or something?
Oh, totally. But at the same time, you're just like, oh, that's rough. Um, but yeah, it was interesting. But like this was where for me it started to get a little bit more interesting because that's when I was like, okay, like what's actually going on here? Because um, it I know we kind of like whine about her and she's like a whiner and she needs a lot of character growth and like spoiled princess and whatever. I'm like, but it really does seem like they're making her to be fairly important as well.
Well, and I think that's in a way that's a little annoying. I don't want her to be important. I want her to realize how unimportant she is, and then find strength in
In that.
herself despite that. Yeah,
Yeah.
like instead of like, oh, actually, you are important. She's like, I thought you always knew I was important.
Right. Fair. Fair.
Like,
Um but yeah, so they pull her out. They pull her out of
mhm.
this thing so she doesn't actually go into this portal. Um
She gets a sword though from the treasure
yeah.
room.
Yeah, she does. You're right. Um and she did have some pretty good like you could see her in the fighting scene using it and stuff.
Yeah, and she's just like decapitating trolls and doing all sorts of awful things.
Mm-hmm.
And Graydon shows up. This is another one of those moments where Graydon and Alora just don't fight, and everyone else is fighting. And like she's helping him like take off his robe, his troll's robe,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, "How was your day?"
Yeah.
And
How are things?
It
Not
was just like
now.
this hilarious like domestic moment in the middle of this crazy fight for your life scene for
It's
everyone else.
it's so quirky. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so we have this, and then eventually they start making their way, I guess, back through this cave thing.
Yeah, and then well, yeah, Allagash sacrifices himself and they eventually all tackle him. I imagine they just throw him back in the cell. So the prison administrator and his brother both die.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the thing that made me laugh is like they're all down way down at the bottom of the cavern, kind of. And meanwhile, apparent like the Bone Reaver woman
Yep.
is she's like trying to lead this crazy escape plan. It's like how many trolls are there if they could send like all of their main important people down to the bottom of the thing and also deal with like this obviously huge insurrection sort of situation.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually.
Like I don't know, it was just a weird. It doesn't matter, but yeah, they escape. Allagash is tackled.
Mm-hmm.
He's not dead. Doesn't look like, but he is sacrificed. And Kit, so they find like it looks like there's a lake of lava, but it's actually not. It's just lava colored stone that sometimes you fall through.
Right, which Kit falls through.
Everyone's like, Kit, can you not just pout and be such a whiny little bitch at any point?
Well,
And she's like, "No, I'm gonna stand here. I'm gonna express myself, and now I'm drowning in the ocean of not lava."
so okay, I will admit when this happened, I was like, oh shit, like we are we're because then like she like falls through, but it recovers itself, right? Like you can't just
Yeah,
it seals itself back up, so you're screwed.
I was like, "Cool, let's move on."
You're like, forget about her, let's go, and everyone else is trying to break her out somehow.
Because I don't care.
I mean, fair.
I'm just like, just when the trolls took her, I'm like, "Okay, you got to go in and rescue Willow."
Right. And now you're like, let's leave Kit behind.
Well, like so they may as well rescue Kit while they're in there to rescue Willow, but Willow's the important one. Like Kit, what purpose does she serve? Really? Like she just whines.
Fair. But I want to know what it is because I feel like they're setting her up for something.
Sure, yeah. They're gonna bail her out. All of her petulant poutiness. Oh, you are special. Oh, you wind enough. You're important now.
But I mean, to be fair, we don't know if they bail her out because it ends without us seeing that.
Yeah. Oh, so okay, so the thing that makes me the most interested right now is like Val Kilmer played Mad Mardigan, and he
Mm-hmm.
went on to bigger, better things, of course, than Willow. Because if you did anything else other than Willow, you probably it was probably bigger and better. Um, but I've heard that he's not even in the show, but I don't like the source was incredible about like we don't know if he actually is or is not. But they've name dropped him so much and built him up so much.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like they have to have some version of him.
Yeah, you would think so, right?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he is in it and it's just one of those crazy kept secrets.
I mean that's not complete. I mean like Han Solo was in episode 9 and we had no inkling of that
Yeah.
until he just had like a little cameo, but it was still like a kind of important moment of turning to the light side for Ben Solo. Like it's an important moment,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, like that's what I'm thinking is, will we just see him to just offer a couple words of wisdom, and he's not really
Not really
does
there.
it. He doesn't like roll down a hill and become a snowball or whatever, you know.
Not this
But
time.
not this time. I know. Maybe it'll be a lava ball
Oh,
somehow.
yeah,
A
that's.
lava square. It's just pick a shape and a substance and
Oh,
go with it.
man. Um, yeah, I don't know. Maybe he will. I have no idea, though. And there's only 2 more episodes. So like after this, so first of all, Kit is stuck underneath this like lava stone thing, and
Mm-hmm.
Jade's freaking out, and Willow's trying to break her out, and nothing's really happening. And then I guess Alora
Alora.
picks up the wand.
Oh yeah, so she dropped it, but it turns out
It
it was just there,
it was just
like
there.
at the bottom of the thing.
She
Yeah.
stepped. Actually, when I saw her step on it, I was like, "Oh no, it's gonna snap." Like I fully
You were
expected
like,
her
oh snap.
to just break it, and I was like, "This is gonna be not good." But yeah, it's just there. But then we don't see what happens. Like, does she manage to open up? We don't know, because then it goes back to the brother.
Yeah, and he just wanders around for a while and then sees some pretty person inside of a cell, and
Mm-hmm.
she's like, "You gonna let me out?"
It's given me like, man, I'm kind of like, are you in this like alternate world type of universe thing, and like is she the girl in this cell? It's like, are you gonna let me out? um is that gonna be like him unleashing some kind of evil?
Right. Like I wonder if it's the crone,
You know what I mean,
frankly.
right? Like if he does it, oh man, I don't know, I just have this bad feeling. But
This
now
isn't
I'm
Star
intrigued,
Wars.
and there's only two
Yeah.
episodes.
Yeah, I don't know how they wrap everything up because they have at least, if the next two episodes are 2 hours total, they have at least an hour and 40 minutes scheduled for silliness.
At the minimum.
Bare minimum. So they got 20 minutes of plot to go.
Is there a second season of this? Because I just don't know how you wrap it up.
I don't know. Yeah, it seems, especially we don't know who this new stranger person is.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know anything about the crone or the lich or the guy with the cage on his head
No,
or the crow thing.
no.
We don't know anything about them. Like it, and 2 episodes is frankly not enough for me to feel like, oh man, they're so powerful. It's good. We find like I think there's gonna be another season.
I,
I just think there is.
I also just don't feel like 2 episodes is enough to wrap this up in general without it being
Right.
just completely ignored, without ignoring certain aspects of it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they can wrap it up in 2 episodes. I could be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really care if there's a second season. Like I've been extremely entertained by it, but I was like, I don't know. I don't want to do a rewatch of this series either. Like I'm just
Well, it's funny because somebody was asking me about it today and how I was liking it, and I was like, it's okay. Like it's quirky and it's got its moments. I'm like, it's definitely not a show that if I saw a trailer for, or like you see the banner for or whatever, I wouldn't be like, oh yeah, I definitely have to watch that. Like
right.
it's it is what it is.
This is its own thing.
Yeah. So I guess we'll have 2 more episodes left, and then we'll see how it ends. But then next week we'll have like the 1 episode, obviously, of Willow and 1 episode of Bad Batch.
Yeah. And then
And they come out on the same day.
oh, all right. We'll do one and one again, and then I'll just be Bad Batch for a while till we get to Mando.
Is Mando in February? No, it's March.
I think it's like March 1st or something.
I remember this because it's like right before due date. I'm like, man, could be good timing, could be bad timing.
It could be both.
Yeah.
I don't know how it could be actually, but it sounded good.
Do you have any other thoughts about this Willow nonsense?
It's not that thought provoking, frankly.
Fair enough.
Like, oh, one thing I did want to parallel is like, so Eric was drinking from that orange water stuff, like from the he's drinking from a well with orange water,
Mm-hmm.
and it looked very similar to the lava water that Kit is now inside of.
That's a good point. I did not catch that. I was wondering when she fell through if it was like a portal that was going to transport her, and then obviously we saw her underneath.
Yeah.
So,
Like, if you're too dumb that you just have to whine about your situation while you're on this really perilous, that like, can't you just wait till you're across the lake and then whine? But no, you have to put everyone else in, like, put everyone else's life in danger because you're so wrapped up in yourself. And then thank goodness it wasn't someone who was actually worth a damn who fell through. Because
uh,
that would have been that's like, yeah, like they're paying the price for her selfishness, but she gets to pay the price, so that's good.
oh dear. Oh dear.
Oh
Well,
dear.
we'll see what happens to her.
Very well. I'm sure it will be awkward.
It'll be fine. Um, I guess that's it.
Yeah, good game.
Good game. That's it. That's all. Till next week.